In the sterile brightness of Boston General's emergency room, Catherine, her jeans frayed and her shirt faded, approached the reception with a pained expression. Her discomfort was evident, yet there was a resilience in her stance. Receptionist, typing briskly. "How can we help you today, Catherine?" Grimacing slightly. "I've been having severe stomach pains for a few days now. It's getting worse." Her voice was steady, but the lines of worry on her young face betrayed her anxiety. The receptionist handed her a form without a glance, her disinterest palpable. As Catherine filled out the necessary paperwork, her fingers trembled slightly, a mix of pain and nervousness. Once done, she returned the clipboard and took a seat, clutching her side. Minutes felt like hours until Dr. Reardon appeared. His gaze swept over the waiting area, his expression unreadable behind his glasses. "Dr. Reardon," calling out, "Catherine Miller." She stood her posture slightly stooped from discomfort as they walked to the examination room. Dr. Reardon's voice was clinical detached. "Dr. Reardon. So what brings you here today?" "Ms. Miller, Catherine. It's my stomach, doctor. The pain is... it's unbearable at times." Inside the examination room, the coldness wasn't just from the air conditioning. Dr. Reardon's demeanor was brisk, his questions sharp. "Dr. Reardon," flipping through her medical form. "It says here, you don't have insurance. How do you plan to handle the charges?" Catherine, hesitantly. I'll find a way, I just need to know what's wrong." The doctor's scrutiny felt like judgment. His next words were curt, his skepticism clear. "Dr. Reardon. These symptoms could be anything. Probably nothing serious. You should consider if it's worth the expense, Ms. Miller." Catherine, frustration and pain mixing. "Please just check what it could be. I can't ignore this." The examination was brief. Dr. Reardon's actions felt perfunctory, his conclusions premature. "Dr. Reardon. I recommend some over-the-counter pain relievers. Rest, and you should be fine." As Catherine tried to articulate her ongoing symptoms, Dr. Reardon seemed already halfway out the door. "Acid. Run. But shouldn't we do some tests? What if it's something serious?" Dr. Reardon, pausing at the door. "Look, I'm quite busy, and we need to be practical about resource use. If the pain persists, maybe come back in a week or two." The door clicked shut behind him, leaving Catherine in a mix of disbelief and despair. Her eyes welled up, not just from the pain, but from the dismissal of her concerns. She knew something wasn't right, but felt powerless to challenge the doctor's authority. In the waiting room, Catherine sat back down, her mind racing. The pain was a constant reminder that something was seriously wrong. She felt ignored, unseen. Just another nameless face in the crowded emergency room. Suddenly, Professor Allen, an old family friend who taught at the medical school affiliated with the hospital, saw her. His shock at seeing her in such a state changed everything. Professor Allen, approaching with concern. "Catherine. What are you doing here? What's wrong?" Catherine, wiping tears. "I don't know what to do. Professor, they won't listen to me here." The professor's face hardened as he took in her situation, his mind already turning towards action. "Professor Allen, come with me. Let's get to the bottom of this together." This chance encounter would not only change the course of Catherine's treatment, but also teach Dr. Reardon a valuable lesson about empathy and responsibility. Professor Allen guided Catherine down the stark white corridors of the hospital, his pace brisk and purposeful. As they approached a more private examination room, he spoke with a reassuring authority. "Professor Allen. Don't worry, Catherine. I'm going to make sure you get the attention you deserve. It's time your voice is heard." Catherine, grasping the gravity of her situation nervously. "Thank you, Professor. I didn't expect to find anyone familiar here today. It's like fate." Upon entering the examination room, Professor Allen quickly summoned Dr. Thompson, a colleague he knew well for his empathy and thoroughness. Dr. Thompson, entering the room, extending a hand to Catherine. "Hello, I'm Dr. Thompson. Allen told me you're in quite some pain. Let's take a closer look, shall we?" As Dr. Thompson began a more thorough examination, his manner was gentle, his questions probing yet kind. Catherine, feeling a sense of relief, responded openly, revealing the intensity of her symptoms. Catherine. It starts here on the right side, and sometimes it's just unbearable. Dr. Thompson, listening intently, nodding. I appreciate your patience, Catherine. We're going to run some tests right away. We need to understand exactly what's going on. Professor Allen stood by, observing his face marked by a growing concern, yet relieved that Catherine was finally receiving the care she needed. Professor Allen, to Dr. Thompson, make sure to include an ultrasound and a full abdominal panel. Let's not take any chances, Dr. Thompson. Absolutely, I'm on it. As they waited for the test results, the tension in the room was palpable. Catherine's anxiety was evident, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The professor attempted to distract her with small talk about her studies and future plans, but her responses were short, overshadowed by her physical discomfort. Suddenly, the door swung open and a nurse rushed in with the test results. Dr. Thompson scanned the documents quickly, his expression turning serious. Dr. Thompson, with a sense of urgency. Catherine, it looks like we've found the problem. You have gallstones, and one is causing a blockage. It's a good thing we caught this now. Catherine, absorbing the news, her relief mixed with fear. What does that mean? What do we do now, Dr. Thompson? We need to schedule surgery immediately. It's a routine procedure and you're in good hands. Professor Allen, seeing the fear in Catherine's eyes, reassured her with a comforting hand on her shoulder. Professor Allen, you're not alone in this, Catherine. I'll be here, and Dr. Thompson is one of the best, Catherine, a tear rolling down her cheek, grateful. Thank you. Both of you. I was so scared earlier, Dr. Thompson. Let's get you prepared for the surgery. We'll take care of everything. As they wheeled Catherine to the pre-op room, her mind was a whirl of emotions, fear, gratitude, and a newfound trust in the kindness of strangers turned guardians. Professor Allen's presence had transformed a day of despair into one of hope, a pivotal turn that would lead to not just a physical recovery, but a restoration of her faith in medical care. In the background, Dr. Reardon watched from a distance, witnessing the consequences of his earlier dismissal. The scene marked a critical moment of self-reflection, for him realizing that every patient deserves respect and thorough attention, regardless of their appearance or economic status. The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly as Catherine lay on the hospital bed in the pre-op room. Her hands fidgeted with the edge of the thin sheet covering her. Fear wrapped tightly around her chest, but she breathed deeply, trying to focus on the fact that something was finally being done. Dr. Thompson stepped in with a clipboard, his expression calm but direct. Vitals are steady. We're moving into surgery in 5 minutes, he said, setting the clipboard down. Catherine looked up, her voice low but clear. Dr. Thompson, is it really dangerous? He paused, then pulled a chair next to her bed. It's not without risk. Catherine, but you're strong, and this team knows what they're doing. The gallstone is causing a blockage that could turn critical if we wait. I won't let that happen. She nodded, swallowing hard. And afterward, will I be okay? You'll have some recovery, yes. Pain at first, but we'll manage that. The key is, we're acting now. You did the right thing not walking away. A nurse entered. Dr. Lee is ready for anesthesia. Dr. Thompson stood. Let's begin. Within moments, Catherine was wheeled down the corridor, her eyes staring up at the ceiling lights that flashed by like scenes in a silent film. The OR doors opened with a hiss. Dr. Lee, the anesthesiologist, greeted her with a gentle smile. Hello, Catherine. We're going to take great care of you. I'm starting the medication now. Just relax. Her vision blurred. The ceiling lights melted into one another as her consciousness faded, scalpel. The room was cold. Focused, nurses moved with precision. Dr. Thompson made the initial incision. There it is, he muttered, leaning in. Minutes passed like seconds. His hands worked swiftly, removing the inflamed gallbladder and the offending stone. A nurse wiped sweat from his forehead, though his eyes never left the monitor. Suction cauterized. All right, we're closing. Catherine's eyelids fluttered. Beeping echoed softly. A blurred figure sharpened into Professor Allen's face. Hey there, he said gently. You're out of surgery. Everything went well. She blinked slowly. Really, it's over, you did great. They got everything. She nodded slightly, voice hoarse. Thank you for staying. Of course I stayed. You're not just a patient, Catherine. You matter. Dr. Thompson entered, removing his gloves, face worn, but proud. She's doing well, he said to the professor, then turned to her. You'll be groggy but stable. No complications. I feel lighter, she whispered. He smiled. You just might be. That stone weighed more than you think. They shared a small laugh, then the door cracked open. Dr. Reardon stood there, awkward hands in his coat pockets. Can I come in? Catherine looked at him, surprised. Silence followed. Dr. Thompson stepped back, watching the exchange unfold. Dr. Reardon took a step closer. I heard what happened. About the blockage and the surgery. Catherine's gaze held his. Calm, but unreadable. I misjudged you, he admitted. I didn't listen. That was wrong. The room was still. I'm sorry. Catherine didn't speak at first. Then I almost walked out Dr. Reardon. Because of how I was treated, but I didn't. And that probably saved my life. He nodded, I know. And I have a lot to reflect on. Professor Allen watched him carefully. I hope you do, he said quietly, Doctor. Reardon gave a small nod and exited, leaving behind a silence more honest than apology. Catherine exhaled slowly. She looked at Dr. Thompson. Thank you for everything. He smiled. Thank you for speaking up. For not giving up. And in that quiet hospital room, something in all of them had changed. The days following Catherine's surgery were a blur of recovery, but each moment was a reminder of how far she'd come from the hospital's cold indifference to the warmth of human compassion. Her body was healing, but her mind was still wrestling with the earlier dismissal. In the quiet of the recovery room, Catherine sat up slowly, feeling the dull ache in her abdomen. The soft beeping of the monitor was comforting, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She had made it through, and somehow she felt stronger for it. The door creaked open, and Dr. Reardon stepped in his face, drawn his eyes filled with an unfamiliar sincerity. Catherine looked up, her heart skipping a beat as she realized who it was. Dr. Reardon, softly. Catherine, I owe you an apology. The words were heavier than she expected. She didn't speak at first. The room felt suddenly too small, the tension palpable. She had spent the last few days contemplating what had happened, the callousness, the indifference, the near disaster. And now here he was standing before her, waiting for something. Catherine, finally, her voice steady but cold. An apology. You dismissed me. You didn't listen. Dr. Reardon, nodding, a hint of regret in his voice. I know, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I made a mistake. I should have listened to you. I should have taken your pain seriously from the beginning. You deserve better than what I gave you. Catherine stared at him, her emotions swirling. She wanted to lash out to remind him of everything that had gone wrong, but something in his expression kept her from doing so. He looked genuinely remorseful, like a man who had been forced to confront the consequences of his own arrogance. Catherine, after a long pause. You didn't just dismiss me, Dr. Reardon. You made me feel like I didn't matter. You made me question if I even deserved to be here. Dr. Reardon flinched, the weight of her words hitting him harder than he had expected. His hands trembled slightly as he clasped them in front of him, the moment of truth. Now here, Dr. Reardon. You're right, I treated you like you were nothing, like your pain wasn't real, and I can't take that back, but I can try to make it right. I want to help you now. Not just as a doctor, but as someone who's learned from this. Catherine looked away for a moment, the anger still simmering inside her, but something shifted. She wasn't ready to forgive him, not yet, but she could see that he was trying, and that she realized was more than she had gotten from him in the beginning. Catherine, quietly, almost to herself, I was ready to leave. I almost walked out. I didn't want to come back here, but I didn't know what else to do. And then, when you dismissed me like that, I thought I was invisible. Like I didn't matter. But this is different. Dr. Reardon, leaning forward, his voice sincere. I know I can't erase what happened, but I want to do better by you. I want to make sure this never happens to anyone else. We're starting a new program for all of our patients, especially those who are often overlooked, and I'd like you to be a part of it. Will you give me that chance? Catherine looked into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability beneath the doctor's usual composure. She could tell he was trying, but was it enough? Could she really forgive him for what he'd done? The decision felt too big for this moment. Catherine, taking a deep breath. I can't forgive you right away, Dr. Reardon. What you did, it hurt. It still hurts. But maybe you can make it right. Maybe you can help others like me, and that's something worth considering. Dr. Reardon nodded, visibly relieved. But Catherine's words lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken promises. She wasn't ready to absolve him, but the door was open just a crack. The healing process for both of them was just beginning. As he turned to leave, Dr. Reardon glanced back at her, his face now softer, no longer filled with the arrogance he had shown before. Dr. Reardon, quietly. Thank you, Catherine, for giving me this chance. The door closed behind him with a soft click, leaving Catherine alone with her thoughts. She wasn't sure where her journey would take her, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like she had control, and that was enough for now. The recovery room was quiet, but the air was thick with unspoken thoughts. Catherine sat up in bed, still feeling the weight of the surgery. Her body was sore, but her mind was sharp, replaying everything that had happened. Professor Allen, sitting by her bedside, watching her closely. You've been through a lot, Catherine, but you did the right thing. You spoke up. You didn't give up. Catherine, softly, still processing the events. I almost did. I almost walked out just like I always do when things get hard, but I stayed. And that made all the difference, didn't it? Professor Allen, nodding. It did. You stood your ground. You didn't let someone else decide your worth. The door creaked open and Dr. Reardon stepped in, hesitating for a moment before walking over to Catherine's bed. His expression was solemn, his posture more humble than she had ever seen Dr. Reardon, gently. Catherine, I need to apologize. I've been wrong. The way I treated you, the way I dismissed you, it wasn't right. You didn't deserve that. Catherine looked at him, her eyes calm but piercing. Her voice was low but firm. Catherine, you almost let me walk out, Dr. Reardon. You almost let me walk out and miss this chance. It's more than just the diagnosis. It's the fact that I wasn't heard, that you didn't see me, Dr. Reardon, voice cracking with emotion. I'll never make that mistake again. I've learned that being a doctor isn't just about knowledge. It's about compassion. It's about seeing the person in front of you, not just the illness. Professor Allen, quietly but firmly. We all have a duty to respect and value every patient, no matter who they are or where they come from. We can't afford to forget that. The room was silent for a long moment. Catherine could feel the sincerity in Dr. Reardon's apology, and in that moment she knew something had changed, not just in him, but in her as well. They had both learned a lesson that would stay with them forever. The sun streamed softly through the blinds of the recovery room as Catherine sat upright, supported by pillows, a notebook resting in her lap. Her hand moved slowly, writing down thoughts, a habit she picked up during the long hours of reflection. Outside, spring leaves rustled gentle and alive. Dr. Thompson entered first, knocking once before stepping in. Dr. Thompson, morning, Catherine. You're looking much stronger today. Catherine, smiling faintly. I feel like myself again. Or maybe a version I've never met before. He chuckled. That's recovery at its best. You've been through a storm. Catherine, storms teach you things you can't learn in calm weather. Professor Allen followed in carrying a small gift bag. You're quoting poetry now. I knew you had it in you, Catherine, with a warm laugh. That's what almost dying does. It rewires the brain. Professor Allen, well, let it wire you toward your full scholarship. I had a conversation with the university. They were impressed, not just by what you endured, but how you endured it. She blinked, stunned. Catherine and I don't know what to say. Dr. Thompson, say yes, say you'll keep going. The air shifted as the door creaked open. Dr. Reardon stood awkwardly in the frame, eyes lowered, holding a simple envelope. Dr. Reardon, I know this might not mean much coming from me, but may I speak? Catherine looked to Allen and Thompson, then nodded. Dr. Reardon, stepping in soft but steady. I've been thinking about what happened, what I did. I've worked in medicine for over 20 years, and still I missed something essential. I forgot that healing doesn't begin with diagnosis. It begins with listening. There was a pause. Catherine. You made me feel invisible. Dr. Reardon, nodding slowly. I know. And I hate that I did. I let my judgment speak before you could. I've drafted a formal letter of apology. Not just to you, but to the board. I asked them to implement mandatory empathy training. That caught Thompson by surprise. Dr. Thompson, that's not small. Dr. Reardon, it's not enough, but it's a start. Catherine looked at him, really, looked at him, and something in her face softened. Catherine, thank you for not hiding. He gave a slight bow of his head and left without another word. Silence lingered until Professor Allen broke it. Professor Allen, you realize what you did, right? Catherine spoke up. Professor Allen, changed the system. Catherine closed the notebook, her eyes glinting. Catherine, maybe just cracked it. But cracks let the light in. She stood slowly, pain still present, but her balance firm. From this day on, she would walk differently, not because of what happened to her, but because of how she rose in it.